The company lounge buzzed with Friday energy, but Teddy's voice cut through everything like a knife. He stood near the coffee machine, gesturing wildly as he told his story. "You should have seen Ian's face when the Goldstein account called me directly," Teddy laughed. 3 months of work, and they realized they needed someone competent. My coffee mug trembled. 3 months of late nights, weekend calls, building relationships with the Goldstein family's investment firm. 3 months watching Teddy swoop in at the last second. The group around him laughed, and I felt my cheeks burn. Marty from accounting glanced my way with pity. "The best part," Teddy continued, "is that Ian actually thought he had it locked down. Poor guy was planning his commission celebration." I forced myself to smile when someone looked my way. This was my biggest client, my chance to prove myself after 2 years of grinding. As I turned to leave, I heard Teddy's final line. "Don't worry, I'll probably do it again next month." Monday morning, I confronted Teddy at his desk. He sat with feet up, scrolling his phone. The Goldstein contract folder sat prominently, my research notes visible through clear plastic. "We need to talk," I said. Teddy looked up with that familiar smirk. "What's up?" "The Goldstein account." He leaned back, hands behind his head. "Look, Ian, nothing personal. The client just liked my style better. Maybe you came on too strong." "You mean the detailed analysis they requested?" Clients want confidence, not details. They want someone who makes them feel secure. Teddy's grin widened. "You should thank me. I saved you from embarrassing yourself." I clenched my fists. "You deliberately undermined me." Teddy stood, straightening his tie. "Prove it. Business is competitive. Maybe find a career more suitable for your personality." He moved closer, lowering his voice. "Besides, you wouldn't want me telling people about your anxiety attacks during presentations, would you?" I knocked on Ernest's office door with my evidence folder. After 30 years with the company, surely he would see through Teddy's games. The gray-haired manager looked up with tired eyes. "Ian, what can I do for you?" "Sir, I need to discuss the Goldstein situation with Teddy." Ernest's expression shifted to annoyance. "The account Teddy successfully closed?" I explained everything. The months of groundwork, Teddy's interference, his admission in the break room. Ernest listened with decreasing interest. "This sounds like healthy competition." Teddy delivered results. "The client chose him." "But sir, he deliberately sabotaged." "Did he close the deal?" "Yes, but..." "Then I don't see the problem." Study Teddy's approach. See what he did differently. "Sir, this wasn't fair competition." "That's enough. I have a busy day." As I reached the door, Teddy entered Ernest's office. They greeted each other like old friends, and Ernest's laugh echoed as the door closed. The change was subtle. Conversation stopped when I entered rooms. Colleagues who usually grabbed lunch suddenly had other plans. Office dynamics had shifted. During the morning meeting, Teddy presented his strategy for Goldstein, using my research word for word. When I cleared my throat, Ernest cut me off. "Let Teddy finish. He's the account manager now." After the meeting, I overheard Lisa whispering, "I heard Ian got really upset about losing that client. Teddy said he made quite a scene." Teddy wasn't just stealing credit, he was rewriting the narrative. Making me look like a sore loser who couldn't handle competition. I ate lunch alone, staring at my computer screen. The isolation felt suffocating. At 3:47 p.m., my email chimed, anonymous.truth.teller@tempmail.com. Subject: "You're not the first." The message was brief. "Teddy does this to everyone. Don't let him win. If you want to know the truth, reply to this email. Time is running out." I stared at the anonymous email all afternoon. After everyone left, I typed my reply. Who is this? What do you mean he does this to everyone? The response came within minutes. My name is Vanita Crouch. I used to work at your firm until Teddy destroyed my career 18 months ago. He has a pattern. He finds talented people, watches them build relationships, then swoops in. My hands trembled as I read. Vanita continued. He did it to 3 people before me. Marty knows, but she's too scared to speak up. Teddy has friends in management who cover for him. He's systematically eliminating competition. I looked around the empty office. Why tell me this? Because you're good at what you do, and you don't deserve this. Also, because I kept records. Emails, recordings, documents. I've been waiting for someone brave enough to use them. What kind of records? The kind that could end his career. But I need to know you're serious. This isn't just about getting your client back. I thought about today's isolation, Teddy's smirk, Ernest's dismissal. I'm serious. What do we do? Meet me tomorrow at Café Luna on 5th Street. 6 p.m. Café Luna was nearly empty when I arrived. Vanita sat in a corner booth, a small woman with sharp eyes and prematurely gray hair. She looked tired but determined. Thank you for coming, she said. Tell me everything. Vanita's story unfolded like a nightmare. She'd been Teddy's target 2 years ago, a rising star in commercial real estate. Teddy had systematically undermined her biggest deal worth millions in commission. He copied my presentation, contacted my clients directly, and convinced them I was unreliable. When I fought back, he told management I was unstable. They forced me out. But you kept evidence? Everything I could. Teddy makes one crucial mistake: he's arrogant. He brags about his methods to people he thinks he can trust. Vanita slid a flash drive across the table. This contains 6 months of recordings, email screenshots, and documented conversations. Teddy doesn't just steal clients. He falsifies reports, overcharges accounts, and splits kickbacks with managers. Ernest? Among others. Teddy has built a corruption network deeper than you realize. Why give this to me? Vanita's eyes hardened. Because he's getting bolder. He plans to take down 2 more weak links this year. That night, I locked my apartment door before plugging in Vanita's South flash drive. Files were organized by date, going back almost 2 years. I started with the oldest recordings. Teddy's voice filled my headphones, casual and confident. The trick is patience. You let them do groundwork, build relationships, gain trust. Then you slide in with concerns about their approach. My stomach churned as he described his methods like a playbook. Ian's working on this investment firm deal. 3 months of research. He has no idea I've already had 2 informal lunches with their CFO. The recording was from 6 weeks ago. While I thought I was building an exclusive relationship, Teddy was undermining me. Another file contained email screenshots showing Teddy copying my client reports and sending modified versions to management, making it look like his work. The most damning file was labeled Goldstein_final.mp3. Teddy's voice was clear: the beauty is that Ian actually did all the hard work. I just had to convince them he was in over his head. A few questions about his experience, and boom, they're asking for someone more senior. The next morning brought the dreaded email. Robert Goldstein himself wrote. Dear Ian, after our conversation with Teddy yesterday, we have concerns about the initial approach to our account. We were disappointed to learn about discrepancies in your experience level. My hands shook. Teddy had gotten to them again, poisoning the well with lies. I immediately called Goldstein's office, but his assistant said he was in meetings all day. He might have time late tomorrow afternoon. Would 4 p.m. work? 24 hours. I had 24 hours to salvage 3 months of work. I spent the morning reviewing Vanita's files, looking for patterns. Teddy always attacked competence and experience, creating doubt while positioning himself as the solution. Around noon, I noticed Teddy at the copy machine, making multiple copies of client files. Our eyes met briefly, and he gave me that infuriating smirk. By 2 p.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I called the Goldstein office again. "Hi, this is Ian. I was wondering if Teddy might have scheduled any meetings with Mr. Goldstein today." "Oh yes, he's here now actually. They've been in conference for about an hour." Teddy was there right now, cementing his lies. I drove to the Goldstein building, my mind racing. The receptionist looked surprised when I announced myself. "Mr. Goldstein is currently in a meeting with your colleague, Teddy. There's been a scheduling mix-up. We're supposed to present together." She hesitated, then buzzed the conference room. "Mr. Goldstein? Ian Parker is here. He says there was a scheduling confusion. Send him in." The conference room felt arctic when I entered. Teddy sat across from Goldstein, folders spread between them, his expression shifting from surprise to anger. "Ian," Goldstein said slowly, Teddy was explaining some concerns about the initial account setup. I could see my research notes spread across the table, but with Teddy's handwriting in the margins. "What specific concerns?" I asked. "Teddy mentioned gaps in your experience with accounts of this size, and inconsistencies in your projections." I looked directly at Teddy. "Which projections specifically?" Teddy's jaw tightened. The third-quarter growth estimates seemed overly optimistic. "You mean the estimates based on the Henderson Group's performance data that you specifically asked me to research?" Teddy's face went pale. He'd forgotten that Goldstein knew nothing about the Henderson research request. Goldstein frowned. "Is this true, Teddy?" The silence was deafening. Teddy's eyes darted between Goldstein and me, searching for an escape route. "There seems to be some confusion," I said calmly. "Mr. Goldstein, could you tell me exactly what concerns Teddy has raised?" Goldstein consulted his notes. "He mentioned you've never handled an account over 50 million, that your projections tend to be unrealistic." I nodded slowly. "Teddy, how many accounts over 50 million have you personally managed?" Teddy's mouth opened and closed. We both knew the answer: 0. "And when you reviewed my projections, did you notice they were based on the same methodology you praised in the Henderson analysis?" "That's not the same situation." "Isn't it? Same market conditions, same indicators, same analytical approach." I turned to Goldstein. "Sir, I believe there's been a serious misunderstanding. With your permission, I'd like to provide clarification about my qualifications." Goldstein leaned back, studying both of us. "I think that would be wise. Teddy, perhaps we should reschedule so Ian can present his side." Teddy stood abruptly. "That won't be necessary." As he gathered his papers, my papers with his notes, Goldstein stopped him. "Actually, leave those files here." After Teddy left, Goldstein turned to me. "I have 48 hours to provide complete documentation. If you're not satisfied, I'll withdraw myself." I called Vanita immediately after leaving the Goldstein building. She listened with satisfaction. "He's panicking now. When Teddy panics, he makes mistakes. But you need help gathering evidence quickly." "What kind of help?" "I know someone still inside the company. Ruben works in IT, and he despises Teddy. Teddy tried to get him fired last year." An hour later, I met Ruben in a coffee shop. He was younger than I expected, with the intense focus of someone who troubleshoots problems daily. "Vanita told me what you need. I can pull deleted emails, archived files, communication logs. But Teddy has been collecting dirt on upper management." "What kind of dirt?" "Expense account irregularities, unauthorized bonuses, personal use of company resources. That's why Ernest protects him. My heart sank. If Teddy had leverage over management, exposing him might be impossible. But his arrogance is also his weakness. He keeps digital copies of everything as trophies. I can access his archived emails tonight. Is that legal? Ruben smiled grimly. Teddy's own activities have given us some flexibility. He handed me a card. Meet me here tomorrow at 7 a.m. What if we get caught? If we get caught stopping him, I can live with that. The next morning, Ruben looked like he'd been up all night. Dark circles ringed his eyes, but he was smiling as he slid a thick folder across our table. Jackpot. Teddy kept everything. Deleted emails showing him copying your work, communication logs proving unauthorized access to client files. I flipped through pages, amazed by the detail. Screenshots showed Teddy forwarding my client research to his personal email, then presenting it as original work. How did you find all this? Teddy archived everything in a folder labeled Insurance. He thought he was protecting himself, but he was documenting his crimes. Ruben pointed to a damaging email chain. Teddy discussing with Ernest how to manage Ian's expectations about the Goldstein account. Ernest knew Teddy was stealing your work. This could destroy both of them. Teddy's been billing clients for services never provided and splitting overcharges with Ernest. We're talking potential criminal fraud. I was studying the documents when Ruben suddenly looked up with alarm. Don't turn around, but Teddy just walked in. I pretended to read news on my phone while Teddy ordered coffee. When his eyes landed on our table, his posture stiffened. Ruben calmly closed the folder. He's coming over. Teddy approached with his fake smile. Funny running into you guys here. After he left, Ruben shook his head. He knows something's up. We need to move fast. Teddy was waiting by my desk when I arrived, his usual swagger replaced by something dangerous. We need to talk. Conference room B. Now. The small meeting room felt claustrophobic with Teddy pacing near the door. I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to stop. You're playing with forces you don't understand. I kept my voice steady. I'm just trying to do my job. Your job is whatever Ernest says it is. And right now, that's staying out of my way. Or what? Teddy stepped closer, whispering. I could have you fired before lunch if I wanted. On what grounds? Insubordination. Poor performance. Failure to work collaboratively. Teddy's eyes glittered. Or maybe I'd mention your anxiety problem during presentations. I recognized the manipulation tactics Vanita had warned me about. You don't know who you're messing with. I have friends in this company you can't imagine. Teddy moved toward the door, then paused. That meeting with the Henderson Group? Funny thing, I was there too. Unofficial capacity. They told me interesting details about their expansion plans. My blood went cold. He was talking about confidential information. You accessed private client files. Teddy just smiled. Prove it. That evening, Ruben and I sat in his apartment, surrounded by printouts and USB drives. The evidence was overwhelming, but we needed Teddy to incriminate himself on record. We need him to admit it openly, I said. Vanita's recordings are good, but they're older. Ruben pulled up Teddy's calendar. Tomorrow's Friday. The company happy hour. Teddy always drinks too much and starts bragging. You think he'd admit to stealing clients in public? Not directly. But if you bait him right, his ego won't let him stay quiet. We spent 2 hours planning the approach. I would wear Ruben's recording device and engage Teddy in conversation about the Goldstein account. What if he doesn't take the bait? Ruben smiled. Trust me, Teddy can't resist showing off. Especially when he's had a few drinks. Friday afternoon dragged slowly. Teddy seemed more relaxed, probably assuming he'd intimidated me into backing down. At 5 p.m., the office emptied toward Murphy's bar across the street. I waited 15 minutes, then followed, Ruben's tiny recording device clipped inside my jacket pocket. The bar was crowded with colleagues, atmosphere loose and friendly. Teddy held court at a high table, already 2 drinks deep. Perfect. I approached Teddy's table casually, drink in hand, joining the conversation as if nothing had happened. Teddy looked surprised but not alarmed. "Ian. Come to celebrate the weekend?" Teddy's voice was already slurred. "Something like that. I wanted to apologize about this week. The client situation got heated." Teddy's eyes lit up with satisfaction. "No worries, man. Business is business." The recording device hummed silently as I laughed along. "You've got to teach me your technique. The way you closed the Goldstein deal was impressive. Years of experience. The trick is knowing what clients really want. They don't want complicated analysis, they want confidence. But how do you build that confidence so quickly?" "I worked on that account for months." Teddy leaned in conspiratorially. "Between you and me, most of the work was already done. I just had to point out some inconsistencies." My heart raced, but I kept my expression neutral. "Inconsistencies? Nothing major. Just gaps in experience, maybe some overly optimistic projections." Marty from accounting was listening now, her expression troubled. "That's smart. Do you use that approach often?" Teddy's chest puffed with pride. "Let's just say I have a talent for recognizing opportunities. Sometimes you have to bend the rules." The conversation continued for 20 more minutes, Teddy growing bolder with each drink. Finally, Teddy raised his glass. "Here's to knowing how the game really works." Saturday morning, Ruben and I reviewed the recording along with his newest discoveries. Teddy's digital trail painted an even darker picture. "Look at this," Ruben said, pulling up a spreadsheet. Teddy's been systematically billing clients for consulting hours he never worked. Overcharges go into a separate account, then get split with Ernest. The numbers were staggering. Over 18 months, Teddy had stolen nearly $60,000, with Ernest taking 30%. This isn't just workplace politics. This is organized theft. Gets worse. Check out these email exchanges. Ruben showed me a chain between Teddy and Ernest discussing how to manage employees who got too close to major accounts. My name appeared 3 times. They planned this from the beginning. The Goldstein account was never about competition. It was about eliminating me as a threat. But now we have everything. Audio confession, digital evidence, financial records. I stared at the evidence spread across Ruben's desk. Part of me felt vindicated, but another part wondered about consequences. "There's something else," Ruben said quietly. "Vanita called this morning. She's not the only former employee Teddy targeted. 3 others are willing to come forward. A pattern." The Goldstein update, Teddy made a critical error. He began describing strategic recommendations I'd never shared with him, insights from a private conversation with Goldstein's CFO. The key insight is that they're planning to expand their healthcare investments by 40% next quarter. I kept my expression neutral, but my pulse quickened. That information came from a confidential lunch with the CFO. Teddy couldn't possibly know those details unless he'd accessed my private notes illegally. Ernest nodded approvingly. Excellent intelligence. After the meeting, I lingered in the conference room. Teddy approached with his usual swagger. "Nice presentation," I said casually. That healthcare expansion angle was particularly insightful. Teddy preened. "You develop an instinct for these things. Where did you hear about the 40% expansion target?" Teddy hesitated, long enough to reveal he'd realized his mistake. client conversations. But we both knew the truth. That specific percentage had appeared nowhere except in my encrypted client notes. An hour later, my phone buzzed with a text from Robert Goldstein. "Ian, could we meet off the record this afternoon? 4 p.m. at the Marriott lobby?" Goldstein wanted to meet secretly. Something had shifted. The Marriott lobby was busy enough for a confidential conversation. Goldstein sat in a corner chair, looking troubled. "I'll be direct. Something isn't adding up with Teddy's presentations. Some information he's sharing couldn't have come from our official meetings." My pulse quickened. "What kind of information?" "Details about our internal expansion plans. Confidential discussions I've only had with you and my CFO." Goldstein nodded grimly. "My IT department ran a security audit after Teddy's presentation yesterday. They found evidence that someone's been monitoring our email exchanges. The implications hit me like a physical blow. Teddy wasn't just stealing clients, he was potentially engaged in corporate espionage. Mr. Goldstein, I need to ask directly. Have you lost confidence in my ability?" He studied my face carefully. "Honestly? I had doubts after Teddy raised his concerns. But his knowledge of confidential information is more troubling. What would it take to restore your confidence?" Goldstein leaned forward. "Proof that someone's been manipulating this situation. If you can show me evidence of misconduct, we'll not only continue working together, we'll expand the relationship. I can provide that proof. But it's bigger than just client theft." "How big?" "Big enough to involve criminal charges." Goldstein was quiet for a moment. "If you deliver that evidence, you'll have our business for life." That evening, Ruben and I worked until midnight organizing evidence for maximum impact. We had 3 categories: client theft, financial fraud, and corporate espionage. "Look at this," Ruben said, pointing to server logs. "Teddy's been using administrative codes to monitor email communications between you and your clients. That's likely illegal under corporate privacy laws." The logs showed Teddy accessing my client correspondence dozens of times over 3 months, always during off hours. He's been reading every email, copying every document, using the information to undermine client relationships. Gets worse. Ruben pulled up another file. Teddy's been falsifying billing records systematically. Not just padding hours, creating entirely fictional services. The documentation was overwhelming. Invoices for strategic consultations that never occurred, charges for market research that was actually stolen from other analysts. Total fraudulent billing over 18 months comes to $87,000. Split with Ernest and 2 other managers according to these payment records. I stared at the evidence. What had started as workplace jealousy had uncovered a criminal enterprise. "If we report this, people are going to prison." He looked at me seriously. "And if we don't report it, how many more careers will Teddy destroy?" I thought about Vanita's story, about colleagues who'd avoided me this week. "You're right. This has to end. So what's our play?" "We document everything properly and end this tomorrow." "All of it." The next morning, I requested a private meeting with Teddy. He agreed readily, probably assuming I was ready to surrender. This time, I was the one who closed the door. "Teddy, we need to discuss the future of the Goldstein account." He leaned back with that familiar smirk. Finally ready to be realistic? I placed a manila folder on the table. "I want to show you something first." Teddy's expression shifted as I opened the folder, revealing a screenshot of his email accessing my confidential client files. "What is this supposed to be?" I turned to the next page, server logs showing dozens of unauthorized access attempts over 3 months. Teddy's face went pale. "Where did you get this?" The next documents were more damaging: falsified billing records, fabricated service descriptions, and payment authorizations splitting fraudulent charges with management. Teddy's hands trembled as he flipped through the evidence. When he reached the audio transcript from Friday's confession, he stopped breathing. Teddy, you've been stealing from clients, accessing private communications illegally, and operating a fraud scheme. This isn't workplace competition, it's criminal activity. You can't prove any of this. I pulled out my phone and played a snippet, Teddy's voice clearly stating, sometimes you have to bend the rules. Teddy's composure cracked completely. Ian, listen, maybe we can work something out. The time for quiet fixes is over. These people have connections. They can destroy your career. I stood up, gathering the folder. I've learned something, being destroyed by the truth is better than being protected by lies. Teddy actually started to cry. Please, Ian. I can make this right. I don't make deals with thieves. But I do expose the truth. I spent that afternoon making copies and preparing delivery packages. 3 identical sets of evidence went to Human Resources, corporate headquarters, and Robert Goldstein's office. The HR email was simple. Please find attached evidence of systematic client fraud, corporate espionage, and financial misconduct involving Teddy Morrison and management personnel. The corporate package was more detailed, with a cover letter explaining the scheme's scope and potential legal implications. Goldstein's package included a personal note, as promised, here is proof that your account has been compromised by fraudulent practices. By 4 p.m., all 3 packages had been delivered. At 4:23 p.m., my phone rang. Ernest's name appeared. Ian, I need to see you in my office immediately. Ernest's face was red with anger when I arrived. Teddy sat in the corner chair, looking defeated. What the hell do you think you're doing? Ernest demanded. I'm reporting criminal activity. As an employee, it's my legal obligation. You've made serious accusations without proper verification. I placed a 4th copy of the evidence folder on Ernest's desk. Everything's been verified. Server logs, audio recordings, financial records. Ernest's eyes widened as he flipped through pages, recognizing his own involvement in the billing fraud. This is a misunderstanding. These are normal business practices. Stealing $87,000 from clients is normal business practice? The room fell silent except for Ernest turning pages, his face growing paler. You'll regret this. But his voice lacked conviction. Corporate headquarters responded faster than expected. At 8 a.m. the next morning, 2 executives were setting up in the main conference room. By 9 a.m., Teddy was being escorted to his car by security. Ernest lasted until noon. The official announcement came at 2 p.m., following an internal investigation into financial irregularities. Teddy Morrison and Harold Ernest have been terminated immediately. I watched from my desk as Teddy's former allies suddenly found urgent work to focus on. Marty from accounting stopped by around 3 p.m. Ian, I owe you an apology. I knew something wasn't right about Teddy's methods, but I was too scared to speak up. You're not the only one. Fear is how people like Teddy operate. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. At 4:30, my phone rang. Robert Goldstein. Ian, I just received word from your corporate office. They've asked me to confirm that our account will remain with you. Yes, sir. And I can guarantee your confidential information will be properly protected. I never doubted that. In fact, we'd like to expand our relationship. Would you be interested in managing our subsidiary accounts as well? The irony wasn't lost on me. By fighting to keep 1 client, I'd potentially gained 3. I'd be honored. Excellent. Also, Ian, thank you for having the courage to do what was right. The ripple effects continued for weeks. Word spread quickly through the industry about Teddy's termination and the criminal investigation. Vanita called to thank me. 3 other former employees have come forward with similar stories. Teddy's pattern goes back even further than we realized. Rubin received official recognition for his role in uncovering the fraud scheme. He was promoted to senior IT security specialist. But the most satisfying moment came when I received a call from an unfamiliar number. "Is this Ian Parker?" a nervous voice asked. "Yes, who's this?" "My name is Trevor Walsh. I used to work at Morrison Financial Group downtown. I heard about what you did with Teddy Morrison, and I wanted to ask, would you be willing to look at some documents I have?" Teddy's corruption extended beyond our company. Trevor had evidence of Teddy attempting to steal clients during his previous job. "How many other people do you think he's done this to?" "More than we'll probably ever know. But it stops here." By Friday, I'd received calls from 4 other former Teddy victims. Each had pieces of the same puzzle: stolen work, falsified credentials, undermined client relationships. The local business journal ran a story about the case, focusing on corporate whistleblowing and ethical accountability. Sometimes doing the right thing costs more than staying silent. But living with lies costs even more. The dust settled over the following month. The criminal investigation was ongoing, but Teddy had essentially vanished from the industry. The Goldstein account flourished under proper management. Without Teddy's interference, I implemented the strategies I'd originally planned. The portfolio performed exactly as my projections predicted. Robert Goldstein became one of my strongest advocates, referring 2 additional major clients and praising my integrity. The subsidiary accounts became the largest commission of my career. Vanita found a new position at a competing firm. She sent me a card: "Thank you for giving me back my confidence and my career." Rubin and I remained close friends, bonded by our shared experience fighting corruption. The company implemented new policies around client account management and financial oversight. Ernest's replacement, Bridia, prioritized transparency over the old boys network that had protected Teddy. During my performance review, Bridia said, "Ian, what you did took tremendous courage. But more than that, it showed integrity." She offered me a promotion to senior account manager, with a team of junior analysts reporting to me. "I want someone in this role who will mentor people properly, not exploit them." I accepted, thinking about how I could help other young professionals avoid Teddy's manipulation. 6 months later, I sat in my new office when my phone rang. Teddy's name appeared, the first time I'd heard from him since his termination. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Ian," Teddy's voice was different, subdued, defeated. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me." "You're right, I don't." "What do you want?" "I wanted to apologize. And to warn you." "Warn me about what?" "The criminal charges are going to trial next month. My lawyer says if I cooperate fully, I might avoid prison time." Teddy's voice cracked. "Ian, what I did was wrong. All of it. I destroyed people's careers because I was too afraid to compete honestly. I waited, saying nothing. The warning is this. My defense is going to try to paint you as vindictive, someone who fabricated evidence because you couldn't handle losing a client fairly. Let them try. They have investigators, they'll dig into your personal life, anything they can use to discredit you." I thought about the evidence we'd gathered, the recordings, the financial documents. "Teddy, I'm not afraid of the truth." "Are you?" Silence. "The difference between us is that I can sleep at night." "Can you?" "No," he whispered. "Then maybe prison will give you time to figure out how." I hung up and deleted his voicemail message from months ago. I smiled, looking out at the city below. Teddy had been wrong about regret. I didn't regret a single thing. Walking into my corner office each morning, seeing respect in my colleagues' eyes, knowing I'd helped protect future victims, there was no regret in any of that. Only satisfaction, and the knowledge that sometimes, the good guys actually do win.